Hey guys, welcome to another, I suppose, unnecessarily hardcore boss fight video. In this video, I'm finishing off the last of this trilogy with a coreless Nightmare Titan challenge. When I say coreless, I should clarify that I don't actually mean I'm fighting without any cores, just that I'm not using any of the special cores that you get from the Godkiller Nightmare Titan mission chain. Without the cores, Nightmare Titan is by far the most powerful ally boss in the game. Just based on their raw stats, him and Nightmare Dage are a magnitude apart, and so for all intents and purposes, you were meant to use the cores to beat him once you got to that point in the mission chain. And frankly, at the time of its release last year, I think it was widely assumed that he wasn't even meant to be possible without the cores. Of course, I'm going to show you that that is no longer the case, and I'm going to try to explain why. While I understand that nobody would actually need to know how to do this, I do want to use this video as an opportunity to go over how to optimize an ally boss team for pure defense, and why the new balance and cores allow for such powerful synergy as to make this victory possible. Even with how hard Nightmare Dage was when he first came out, people have always been interested in the fastest methods to kill ally bosses, so it's easy to forget just how defensive two players working together can actually be if you optimize for that purpose. The Tactical Mercenary is your standard 1100 health dex build, but with Pyrofly and level 5 Frenzy. Level 5 is simply because your energy from reroute is already excessive in ally fights when you take into account that your partner is also healing you. The Blood Mage build is where it gets a bit more interesting. Here, I of course had to get a huge amount of health to avoid target switching, since the Tactical Mercenary already has 1100 and is going to have a lot of shields on during the battle. In this case, I'm going all out defensively as possible, so the sole function of the Blood Mage is to provide its defensive abilities. When you take that into consideration, for the leftover points, Tech and Resistance are essentially the only stats worth investing in if you intend on using Blood Shield, which you would if the boss has strong energy attacks. And if you aren't aware, the resistance from Blood Shield is based on the player that uses it, not who it's being put on. Tech also improves Terrify and robot damage, and also makes it less likely that your robot is going to get deflected, which is critical because you need it to recover health being lost from Blood Shield. Resistance armor is also necessary for Sea Kings, and in this case, it just so happens that Nightmare Titan's only multi-skill is Plasma Rain, so Resistance is the only defense type that you need to worry about anyway. Blood Instinct also happens to work super well in this setup because Energy Shield also scales with Dex. The way all this works out is almost too perfect, which is why Tactical Mercenary plus Blood Mage is such a good combo. The main issue is that you don't have enough skill points in turns to use both shields, and it would cost too much health. With that said, if this was a physical heavy boss, it probably would be smarter to use the Blood Instinct variant of this build and perhaps invest more into support instead of tech. Alright, so the way this setup works is fairly simple. First, you have to take out Double Strike. You only have one Pyrofly, so it is the best choice, not only because it's one of his strongest attacks besides Berserker, but also because it has a 1-turn cooldown, and it's his lowest energy causing skill, so he would have used it quite frequently. You have 3 shields that can cover resistance, which are Armored Roots, Energy Shield, and Blood Shield, so the trick is to make sure you have at least 1 or 2 of them on at the same time to avoid getting one-shotted by Berserker. Nightmare Titan is actually sort of a weird boss in that his attack damages are exceptionally variable, kind of like Deuce. and that's because he appears to be identical to Legendary Titan in terms of stats and skills, except his primary gun and aux weapon damage bonuses have been buffed through the roof, hence the ridiculous berserkering strength skills. Like I mentioned before, he only has one multi-skill, which is unusual for a Nightmare boss, and makes things a lot easier. His caster skills are just all very weak in general compared to other bosses. My assumption is that, unlike other Nightmare bosses where they get new skills and buffed stats, there just wasn't much effort put into changing anything about Titan except his base weapon damages and defenses, since you were intended to use the mission cores to win anyway. Once he's drained, it's a pretty easy win. Without Double Strike, his lowest energy costing skill is Overload at 255, but it is possible to make him use Bludgeon and Fire Scythe simply because they don't cost that much more, so that's the only thing to watch out for unless you want to skip a lot of turns. With a resistance shield on at all times to intercept his strikes, and 2 heals ready to go, it really should be a secure win. So, there you have it. All bosses have been taken down a tier, legendaries can now be beaten before 40, normal nightmares can be soloed, and mission bosses like Titan can be beaten raw. As always, thanks for watching, and I've got some different content coming soon, so be sure to look out for it.